A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. War! The Republic is crumbling under attacks by the ruthless Sith Lord Count Dooku. There are heroes on both sides. Evil is everywhere. In a stunning move, the fiendish droid leader, General Grievous, has swept into the Republic capital and kidnapped Chancellor Palpatine, leader of the Galactic Senate. As the Separatist droid army attempts to flee the besieged capital with their valuable hostage, 2 Jedi Knights lead a desperate mission to rescue the captive Chancellor. Revenge of the Sith was rated PG-13 for sci-fi violence and some intense images, including the murder of children and the rise of fascism. Please proceed according to your needs and comfort level. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The views expressed therein are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of their employers. Hello there, and welcome back to 6 Degrees of Star Wars, the podcast where we explore all the ways George Lucas's flagship franchise surrounds us, binds us, and penetrates us in the landscape of cinema. I'm your host, Sam Marchioni. Joining me today for the very first time, Rhapsody Blue.
So this is how the prequel trilogy ends, with a very confusing ending.
Mike Fadum.
You were the chosen one!
And I think pointing a Beskar spear at me, River Lane.
This story happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It is already over. Nothing can be done to change it. It is a story of love and loss, brotherhood and betrayal, courage and sacrifice, and the death of dreams. It is a story of the blurred line between our best and our worst. It is the story of an end of an age. This is the twilight of the Jedi. The end starts now.
Thanks, Bill Shakespeare.
Thanks, Matt Stover.
Okay, I don't want to go wildly off track right as we started, but I met him at a con a couple years ago, and it was awesome.
Oh, nice.
Does he know that novel owns my entire ass?
He does, yes. And he was very happy with me because I understood the point of Traitor, which is still my favorite Star Wars book.
The time has come, my friends, to put another set of Degree Zeros to bed. We are closing out the prequel trilogy with Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Now the second most hated trilogy in Star Wars, but there are actually more than 2 trilogies now.
I will fight people on the internet, but let's not get into that now.
Tell me I am wrong that people hate the sequels more than they hate the prequels.
Oh, no, there are idiots who hate things, yeah, for sure.
There are plenty of people that actively hate the sequels more now, but I was there for when people consider the prequels to be the absolute dog shit of cinema.
The end of Star Wars.
Guys, it used to be that the prequels were the second best trilogy and most hated trilogy because there were only 2 trilogies.
Oh.
And now they are the second most hated trilogy, but there are 3 trilogies.
Isn't it great when you have to explain the good joke to your guests?
I'm most disappointed in you, Mike. You are a dad. You are supposed to get this kind of humor.
I'm sorry. I was just so ready to defend the sequels that I missed the joke entirely.
But that's not for another couple of years.
It's complicated. Anyway, we all know that I am on the record as a general prequel defender, but I am also a fucking weirdo who first came to Star Wars in college with a head full of Shakespearean brain rot and was like, ooh, yes, politics, tormented love, complex emotional dynamics. This is my shit.
The thing that I love about the prequels so much is that I have been arguing until I'm blue in the face for years about the subjectivity of art, and the prequels completely prove it, because it was accepted fact that they were terrible when I was a kid, and now it is accepted fact that they are great, because it's art. It doesn't matter. It all can change at any moment.
And it has been 20 years. Congratulations, everyone. We're old as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Truly.
I met a child named Kylo yesterday.
No!
And I was like, no, the prequels came out last year. What are you talking about?
Do these parents hate their child?
Incredible content.
It was even better because he was wearing the Khmer helmet.
Delightful. 12 out of 10.
So this is actually my least favorite of the prequel trilogy.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough. It is my favorite. That's because we don't count the Clone Wars movie.
Okay, no, we don't want to derail to talk about the Clone Wars movie. I was going to say,
No,
I've only
we
heard bad
can't.
things about that, but...
My Clone Wars floodgate hyperfixation is banging against the walls of its enclosure. I'm doing so good, and I'm not going to talk about the Clone Wars. I'm not! But I am going to talk about how I came to this because Star Wars of it all. TM.
Yeah.
And also, I get to be the baby in the room and age everybody. I was 5 when this movie came out.
Same.
God damn it! God damn it! I'm out.
So I get Star Wars. My parents are nerds. I get Star Wars very young. I get the original trilogy when I'm a child, and all of the movies are in shuffle on rotation in my house, but I don't really pay attention to them. I remember liking 6 because I really liked the Ewoks because I was like 4 at the time.
The Ewoks fucking rock.
True. I acquire a friend when I'm about 8 years old who's deeply into the Clone Wars as it's airing because we are the right demographic for that show.
Mm-hmm.
And he is deeply into it. And he tries to get me into it, and I'm like, the anthology style, I don't want to jump into the middle of a TV season where I don't know what entirely is going on. But I remember seeing adverts for it. Anyway.
You at 8 years old were like, I'm not a big fan of anthologies.
More I was like, I don't know if I want to jump into the middle of a TV series.
That's fair.
But the thing that came from that friendship the most was a deep ingraining of the prequel trilogy. Because we were both that right flavor of nerd where I come out at 8 years old writing parody songs. I used to have the entirety of the Mustafar duel memorized. I have this movie so ingrained in my soul that it hurts. Anakin Skywalker is my silly little blurbo. I am gripping him like a plushie. Could a depressed person make this?
In this fandom, that's referred to as a glupshido.
He's not a glupshido, though.
No,
he can't be a
he's not.
glupshido.
He's not. He's the main character. He cannot be, but
in doing so, I rattling the bars of my enclosure about this movie.
Well, I think the Clone Wars are a really interesting thing because, and we'll get into this more as we talk about some of the characters, especially the antagonists in the movie, but there are a lot of people now who have grown up in the world where the Clone Wars exists, and by its very existence makes episode 3 more sensible and fun to watch and emotional, and it's changed a lot of feelings about the movie, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, 3 is enhanced. Even if we didn't get season 7, if we didn't know where the fuck Ahsoka was and we don't get the Siege of Mandalore, even if we don't get that group of seasons still enhances this to the point where it's but we're not here to talk about it, I swear. I am sticking to the context of the movie.
Honestly, you do not want to know what the group of Star Wars people I hang out with is, because most of them do not like the Clone Wars because they feel that it actually undermines a lot of the characterization of the live-action trilogy. And we can talk about the characterization of the live-action trilogy as we're going in, but first, Raps, let's talk about your relationship to the prequels and Star Wars in general, if you prefer.
So technically the prequels were the trilogy that I grew up on because I was born the year after episode 1 came out. But I didn't get into Star Wars properly until 2008 when one of my PCAs brought me a very, very old Return of the Jedi book that I have held on for many, many years because it is such a very special memento for me. And so where my love of Star Wars really began was with all things the Disney acquisition in 2012, because even though I understand that Disney is a conglomerate and that we should hate conglomerates, absolutely, it was because the sequel trilogy made it a huge event. These movies were coming back in this massive way. Star Wars The Force Awakens was technically the first new Star Wars movie I ever got to see in an actual theater. And seeing that on opening night was definitely a very much life-changing experience. And then Last Jedi comes out. That's my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. Gets crucified one crucifixion later. Rise of Skywalker comes out. I like it at first, but as the years go on, I'm just kind of it exists. I don't really care for it. And now, as an adult, it's I just love Star Wars, man. I can't help it. It's the one thing that gives me a reason to keep fighting for what's right and to keep going in a world that seems to get bleaker and bleaker as time goes on. As long as there's Star Wars in the world, there's still a chance for things to get better.
I mean, it sure would fucking help if people stopped using this as an instruction manual. My god. The complaints about the politics in the prequels and then the lack thereof in the sequels will never not drive me nuts, because it's like the prequels are basically a reaction to both Reagan era policies and also, Bush and the war on terror, and now you're watching it and it's like, what do you mean the chancellor is continuing to have the Senate grant him emergency powers? What do you mean he has control of the courts? What do you mean executive order?
What do you mean that we're trying to not deal with the fact that this all started over fucking trade negotiations?
So you're saying that the man in charge of the entire country is actually a very bad person? You don't say.
George.
I think for me, the politics of this movie are the sort of thing that make you want to put your head through a wall as time goes on, because when I was a kid I didn't really get it. I was very much like, no, can we go back to the cool battle scenes please, and what have you, and then when I'm older I'm just sitting here going like, can we go back to the cool battle scenes please? It's too real. I'm so tired.
Sometimes I just want to see Jar Jar fall down.
There are moments in the prequels that I do tend to like more as I get older, but if I were to rank them like favorite to least favorite, Revenge of the Sith, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones. And I know that's going to cause some pot stirring with Sam, but I really do not like Attack of the Clones, because there is one fucking line of dialogue that just makes me cringe audibly every time I hear it.
Is it good call, my young Padawan?
No, it's the fucking I don't
fine.
like... It's the fucking I don't
No,
like sand line.
Listen.
We can't do sand discourse. We can't do sand discourse.
It's symbolism.
I don't...
No sand!
We can't.
And my boy has autism, okay?
So
My
do
boy
I.
needs help.
No, at this point, Anakin Skywalker has multiple head injuries, several bouts of entire body electrocution,
Most likely undiagnosed BPD.
undiagnosed BPD, severe PTSD, and oh, by the way, his Padawan is out there!
Also, he's 22, he doesn't even have a fully formed prefrontal cortex.
Yeah,
It's true.
he's either 23 or 25.
But don't worry, guys, because all of his problems can be fixed by severe repression.
Ding!
That and a yee-ass mullet haircut.
Okay, I know that we are we mostly pro-Jedi around here? I forget. What is our stance on the Jedi?
We being me, I was using the royal we, but I don't want to actually speak for anybody. If it is the time, we have thoughts about the Jedi to share. We being me again. But do we want to go down that road now, or do we want to talk about the movie some more first?
I think in order to talk about the movie, we have to talk about the Jedi, because a large part of this is dependent upon the fact that this is what happens when you basically take a monastic order of warriors and bring them into the military-industrial complex, while also not really accounting for the fact that none of them know how to handle feelings properly outside of the doctrine that they have taught.
So that's my thing about the Jedi that I will say. And I was really glad in the last couple of years where we got some examples of High Republic Jedi who are, to a person, much more emotionally intelligent than what you get from the general Jedi of the prequels. Lots of people who grew up on the prequels have come to the conclusion that the Jedi and the Sith are bad, and they often say, "Oh, I would be what's called a gray Jedi," and then you listen to them talking about what a gray Jedi is, and you realize that they just want to be a Jedi. They just want to be somebody who's not repressed with their emotions like everyone was doing to poor Anakin, and is just in touch with their emotions, emotionally intelligent, not repressing everything, and still fighting for good and using force powers. That's all most people want when they say gray Jedi. And, that's what the Jedi should be. Something happened. In universe, my explanation is something happened that caused the Jedi, even before the Clone Wars, to really close off who they were and what their purpose was.
Gee, it might have been nice to explore that in a series.
I know. Would have been great. Would have loved that.
This is a subtweet because I enjoyed The Acolyte and I wished to see it continue.
Oh, God,
Same.
yes.
I would love
Acolyte
to see it
was so
continue.
good.
So the Jedi at this point preach no attachment, right? Yoda's got that whole spiel where I'm like, this is great advice to anyone who isn't Anakin Skywalker.
It's not even good advice to the rest of them, but please continue. I don't want to talk over you. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. Please, get on. So, but like, the attachment system, right? You already have the Master Padawan dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
You basically, congratulations, your local 20 to 30 something raises a kid for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And then is expected to just let that kid wander into the wild. Because, like, especially during the war, you know, I don't like to use EU, but EU is still canon unless directly overwritten. But
Sure.
the implication that Obi-Wan is kind of the last Padawan we see who was trained into adulthood, right? Like, Anakin's 19, 20 when he picks up his. And it's mostly because Yoda's like, I need to work out this attachment thing, so I'm gonna give him a thing he has to take care of. And then make a war an acceptable childhood. We're not here to talk about Clone Wars. But, like, the thing that I really... And can Sam, permission to quote Stover for a second?
Proceed.
Okay. Matthew Stover has this great exchange in the book that I think was meant to be part of that scene where Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Mace are on the transport, and Mace is like, first of all, Mace saying, I don't trust him, motherfucker, he saved your life multiple times at this point.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. I'm not here to talk about Mace Windu. I have a point. But anyway, there's a conversation that eventually boils down to, like, Obi-Wan is like, we as Jedi are trained to protect and serve, basically. Not to invoke that, but that's basically the mandate.
Yeah.
And if someone were to be in a point of no return, we as Jedi would leave them. You know, we would do our best, but we would leave them. All except Anakin. And Anakin's flaw being loyalty. Like, Anakin Skywalker is so deeply loyal, and the Jedi were never gonna reward that loyalty in a way that mattered to him.
River, your Percy Jackson is showing.
Yeah, but that is ultimately his hang-up. For the listeners out there, if you haven't read Matthew Stover's novelization of Revenge of the Sith, please do. It's fucking incredible. It basically makes the entire movie like everyone is in their own separate train car with important information that needs to get to other train cars where other characters are. But nobody can get the information to them because the train is hurling high speed off a cliff and no one can change cars.
Without changing much of the story at all, he turns it into even more of a Greek tragedy, and it's brilliant.
If the question is, am I pro-Jedi for the purposes of this podcast, I would definitely say that I'm as pro-Jedi as they come, just not in the, cutting off all attachments thing, because I am a very loving and empathetic person, often to my own detriment. I am very much wanting to keep in touch with the people that I care about, but, you know, as long as I can pick up a lightsaber and just protect the peace in the galaxy, then that's fine.
When I chose what to become a fan of within Star Wars, because you know how you can't be a fan of everything in Star Wars, so you end up picking majors. I've majored in Jedi lineages and the Mandalorians. And so, like, I got a lot of complicated feelings about that there disaster lineage, known as Yoda to Dooku to Qui-Gon to Obi-Wan to Anakin.
To Ahsoka?
And to Ahsoka, and then to Luke and and Ezra, and yada yada yada. Oh, actually, no, that's the Shatterpoint lineage. But the Shatterpoint lineage eventually intersects with the disaster lineage, and somewhere Mace Windu is turning in his grave. But that's not the point. Point is that, like, I have poured so much brain energy into making sense of the Jedi. And so when I talk about them, I am mostly pro-Jedi, but I'm pro-Jedi in the what the fuck are you all doing?
Yeah, I'm pro what the Jedi should be, and I don't know if Lucas deliberately wrote the Jedi as failing in their mandate over the course of the prequel trilogy. I kind of think he was doing it on purpose a little bit, but if they were meant to be portrayed as the great shining Jedi of the universe, then I'm putting my own headcanon in that they were the failure of the Jedi.
This is absolutely something that George was doing on purpose, because one of the things that I noticed is that pretty much everything Mace says has legitimate grounds within it, but it's worded in the most antagonistic way possible, which is, you know, what gave the fandom racists their massive air quotes justification for hatred of Mace. He could still be alive. Samuel L. Jackson could still come back.
He's dead! He's dead!
Death means nothing anymore in the Force unless you are a woman being fridged.
The man is a handless pancake!
If the gravity didn't get him, he definitely got hit by Coruscant traffic.
I have a legitimate grievance with Mace Windu as a character, nothing to do with him as an actor. In the Star Wars The Clone Wars episode, where there's this whole arc where Boba Fett's trying to get revenge on Mace Windu for killing Jango during the Battle of Geonosis.
God, I love Clone Wars. Anyway.
At the very end of it, they capture Boba Fett and they bring him in, and Boba said something to the effect of, I know I've done some bad things, but you started it when you killed my father. I'll never forgive you. And that's a very powerful moment. But then Mace has to go ahead and be all, well, you're going to have to. No, he fucking doesn't. Yep. He does not have to forgive you for killing your only parent.
Well, the point I was trying to make is that Mace could have said something to the effect of, we do not grant you the rank of master yet, because this is an uncertain time, and we still have a lot of other stuff on the table. Just giving Anakin the acknowledgement that he is on track to master would have done a world of help in reinforcing Anakin's confidence and avoiding his RSD. And basically, all of this boils down to Palpatine is validating Anakin, and the Jedi are withholding information. And they are right to withhold information because they are aware that Palpatine is, well, they don't ever say it, but Palpatine is grooming Anakin. Palpatine has cultivated this relationship, and Anakin's judgment is compromised where it comes to Palpatine. But they never couch it in terms of, Anakin, we are concerned for your safety. We are concerned that you are not able to view this objectively. They lay it down, ironically enough, in absolutes.
Insert my Jedi Lost here. I am putting it on a shelf. I am doing so good. It's gonna rattle the bars of its enclosure, but I'm putting it on a shelf. So, the Jedi entered a no-win scenario, and Palpatine knew this. By entering the war, the Jedi have entered a no-win scenario. There is no such thing as putting a peacekeeper in a general position. Like, that's an insane thing to do. That is an insane choice to make. It is the only choice given the way that the galaxy works.
What was the Tumblr quote? They put a weapon in Anakin's hands and told him to find peace?
Yes,
that was around on Tumblr.
Yeah, and then insert the entire several paragraph meta afterwards of like, he shouldn't have majored in murder, he should have majored in childcare.
Yes, I love that Tumblr post that goes around. Anakin would have been the best youngling coach in the universe.
I think about that Tumblr post at least once a week.
I would love for you to send that to me for DMs if possible.
I will do it after recording. I have it saved somewhere.
Thank you.
Because it is genuinely an incredible piece of meta. If you have not read it, highly recommend. Yeah. But yeah, like, again, Anakin's flaw being loyalty, and the Jedi are never gonna reward the loyalty in the way that it matters. Obi-Wan can on a personal level, and maybe some of the other Jedi can on a personal level, but the system cannot reward that loyalty in a way that matters.
Yeah. And
that is the thing that ultimately breaks him, because I don't want to say that Anakin is not loyal to systems, but he is far more loyal to people.
He's a chaotic good little boy. He doesn't believe in,
Yeah, to quote Cinema Wins, the channel you should all be watching, when Cinema Wins did their videos about the prequel trilogy, they pointed out that Anakin's, like, deference is kind of the thing that kills him. Like, Anakin kills Dooku, and he's like, oh, I shouldn't have fucking done that, I should have told the council first. But there was still a chance that he would have gotten away. Like, Anakin can't take action because he still wants to rely on a broken system. That's not gonna reward him for that. I have come around to disagreeing with their point of, like, Obi-Wan and Anakin are the C and B student, or the C student trying to tutor the A student. I don't fully agree with that anymore, though I will say that who is who in any given scene vacillates wildly.
Really, it's a matter of who has custody of the brain cell.
Yep.
Rex has custody of the brain cell for this entire movie. He sent his brain cell with Rex.
This movie!
That's the reason why he sent his brain cell with Rex. And that's why Rex is able to break the brainwashing enough to tell Ahsoka to go find the chip. But this is not about Clone Wars anyway.
If we're discussing the opening scene, the opening battle, well, I do want to briefly mention the opening crawl, even though River kind of briefly discussed that. The very first word we see, aside from Star Wars and Revenge of the Sith, is war!
What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing. But anyways, even though it's pretty cheesy, I still think it's a pretty solid way to open the crawl, just because it gives off the vibe. Like, it has the right punch to it, if it makes sense. Like, the very first thing you need to see is the most punching thing ever. And what's punchier than war?
War.
What drives me nuts about that crawl is they say there are heroes on both sides, and then we never see any fucking heroes on the Separatist side.
We can't talk about the Clone Wars, River.
We
We can't talk about the Clone Wars.
Clone Wars.
I'm old enough to remember a time before the president wiped his ass with the concept of both sides by applying it to white fucking nationalists. Even before that, there are no heroes on both sides depicted in the film itself.
Exactly.
So what was the point of including that, if only to lead into evil is everywhere? No shit, it's everywhere. Have you seen the inner workings of the politics system?
Well, no, because George cut all of it for this movie, and I'm not going to let this go. The Seeds of Rebellion arc should not have been cut. I understand the mentality that this is Anakin's journey and we need to keep the focus on that. However, this is also supposed to be setting up the rebellion, and having Padme Amidala be something other than future protagonist incubation unit and fridge victim would have been nice. It would have been nice to see her and Mon Mothma and Bail Organa like sitting down and actually talking about what the fuck is going on
and how to fix it.
Yeah. Bail is the best senator, by the way. I don't know if this needs to be put on record. Bail Organa, best senator in the entire fucking Senate. I love that man to
Senator
pieces.
Organa, if you and your wife want a third, I'm available.
Right?
I do love Genevieve O'Reilly going from being a cut cameo to essentially being one of the big major players in Star Wars as of recent, especially with Andor Season 2. I love that career trajectory for her.
Yeah, that's great.
I will say about the crawl one last joke before we get into the actual opening scene, because I got thoughts about that too. I did expect Tom Kane to pop in and start narrating, especially with that like war intro.
Yeah.
Say what you want about the Clone Wars, that was actually kind of a good choice as a way of doing the episode catch-ups.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, two halves of one whole warrior, and the spin around shakes violently. You had no hope, trio, but God almighty, did I have hope?
So, interesting tidbit that I learned once upon a time about this opening space battle sequence, which is one of the best space battle sequences in the history of cinema.
Yes.
Initially, the animators had Obi-Wan and Anakin flying together, but flying slightly differently. Like one would turn and then one would turn, right after, because that looks more realistic. And Lucas came back and said, no, they should be completely in sync. They should not deviate in the slightest, because they are that in sync, and that's the point in the story, which I think is fascinating. I don't know that I agree with the choice necessarily, but I think it's a really interesting look into what the mindset of making the movie was.
That does feel like the start of the Force works as I need it to work, which is how we get a lot of nonsense in the Clone Wars and in the sequel trilogy, but we're not here to talk about those.
The Force shouldn't have rules anyway. The Force shouldn't have rules. The Force is...
That's not how the Force works.
I will put a off mic ask me about my pet headcanon theory here note about that. But I do, again, gonna quote Stover for a second. The idea of this is the age of heroes and it has saved its best for last. I think that in sync, two halves of one whole warrior is kind of perfect. And it starting that way as a way of like this war has solidified these two, like that combined with the scene when they land in the hangar and they immediately start working towards each other as a way of like fighting the droids is incredible, and it sets up a very believable sense of like, oh, these are not the same characters we left in episode 2. These two have spent the last 3 years fighting a war together. And they know each other like the back of their hand, which is why that Mustafar fight is gonna hurt like a motherfucker in 2 hours.
Oh, we'll get to the Mustafar fight. We'll get to the Mustafar fight.
We will get to the Mustafar fight.
And then River is gonna scream at me for an hour and a half, but that's all right. Because
No, I am restrained. I am a good noodle.
I'm not trying to step over anyone's toes. I'm just trying to...
No. Tell me to shut up. Tell me to shut up, please. If you don't, I'll die.
So the opening battle is still exerting, because seeing this in theaters for the 20th anniversary just made it hit a lot more harder. But with that said, No, R4, no, not you.
Yeah.
Given I am the odd person out who does not watch Star Wars for the battles, this is an opening that tests my patience, honestly. I can't help it. I am weird like this. I enjoy the character moments within it. Like, I like Anakin being concerned about his troopers and having to be told that he can't go help them because they have a job to do. But, like, I don't enjoy watching the ships flying back and forth. I start enjoying things a little bit more once they're on the ship and they're chasing, the Chancellor down and everything. But even then, we're hampered by George's interesting directing choices where you would think he'd be going for the faster and more intense kind of things, but there are pauses. Pauses, and everybody sounds just the tiniest bit too calm.
That's a problem with the prequels as a whole. Something in what Lucas was directing these actors, beyond the fact that just anybody without any real direction, and by his own admission, George does not give real direction, they would struggle and has a more flat performance. But there's something in the way that everybody delivers their lines. Anakin, Obi-Wan, Padme, they all have this. I don't even know how to describe it. I can maybe do an impression of it. It's like, I now talk like this. Every word is slightly breathy and void of emotion.
The thing is, it works for Anakin if you think about hearing it in the Darth Vader James Earl Jones voice. That kind of phrasing works for Vader, but that's because you also have the added oomph of the mechanized voice and the breathing. And when it's people talking, you kind of lose that. And I give a lot more leeway to both Hayden and Natalie Portman because these are two actors who are still relatively early in their careers and much more reliant on their directors. I have less grace for Samuel L. Jackson, and even Frank Oz is suffering from it.
Well, that's why I'm like, there must be something they were told.
Really, the ones who are having the most fun are the villains, TBH. Christopher Lee knows what the fuck he is doing.
And so does Ian McDiarmid, yeah.
Christopher Lee is absolute beloved. The most correct choice for Dooku and an absolutely insane character.
The funny thing about that is that he's actually... Dooku was built around him rather than the other way around.
I stand by my opinion, and I've held this since I was 10, 11. George needed somebody to tell him no. I get the sense on the prequels that George never had somebody on set to go like, hey man.
He did ask.
George actually tried to offer episode 2 and 3 to Spielberg and Howard, and they both were like, no, you should direct these movies, George.
He not only tried to give it to them, he tried to give it to Zemeckis as well. He was like calling up all his friends like, please help me with this.
Someone else direct
And they're
this.
like, no, George, this is your baby. It has to be you.
Yeah.
And then George is like, well, okay.
I understand the sentiment behind that, but at the same time, I'm also like, imagine if they got like some newer talent to direct this, and George just gave them like the linear notes on like, here's what needs to happen, like A to B, like here's what happens in this, and just gave the project to them. I wonder how things would have turned out if he just took over like an executive producer role instead of being the director.
I don't think at the time he would have given up that kind of control. I do think he would have still needed to be a writer, and then we'd have to script doctor the dialogue into something listenable until high heaven.
I mean, allegedly Carrie Fisher was doing that, and officially Tom Stoppard was involved in this. Tom Stoppard, if you will remember, contributed to the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Which is why that scene sounds like that, I guess.
Should I know who Tom Stoppard is?
He wrote Shakespeare in Love, but he's mostly known for writing really incredible plays, and some really terrible plays.
Have you seen Lion King 1.5?
Yes, I have. It is one of my favorite movies of all time.
He wrote the play that it is based on. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Oh, okay.
He is also a TERF.
God damn it.
Yeah,
he's an elder Brit. It's a better than not chance that is what you are going to encounter. To hear when I first had a full mental breakdown about the whole Tom Stoppard writing Darth Plagueis the Wise thing, please check out the Anna Karenina episode of The Biggest Night in Podcasting, run by friend of the pod, Ellie McConaughey. And I do also want the record to state that we recorded this before Tom Stoppard passed away, but I made the executive choice to keep this in as I did because I think part of how we show respect for artists is to acknowledge their flaws as much as their contributions. We can acknowledge Stoppard wrote some great stuff and made some great choices, and that he wrote some not-so-great stuff and made some not-so-great choices. death of the author, people are complicated, and, well, Obi-Wan?
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
This may just be more of a technical sound effects thing, because that's more my department, but I've always been bothered by this one weird sound effect that plays after Dooku gets decapitated. It's like this weird sound. I don't know how to describe it.
Oh, the ringing of the lightsabers against one another, and that, like, echo effect.
Like the shung, shuak, shiuk.
Yeah.
Huh.
I know what sound you're talking about.
It has always bugged me for years, because it's like it just doesn't sound right.
Are you sure that's not just the sound it makes when a man gets beheaded? Because I can't rule out the fact that Christopher Lee knew that as well as he knew how somebody sounds when they get stabbed in the back.
According to legend, Christopher Lee saw the very last execution by guillotine in France while he was serving in World War II.
Are we sure he's dead? Are we sure he's not an immortal vampire?
He's just stepped out of the limelight so he can continue living on.
Yeah, he's got to fake his own death and then come back as, young Christopher Lee again.
Speaking of faking their own death, I have had a recent hot take that has cooked in my brain for a little while. It's partially to do with something that happens in the Clone Wars, but I want to put it to y'all now.
Okay.
I think that Revenge of the Sith would have been improved if it had turned out that General Grievous was Darth Maul. Because I think that would have not only eased some of the growing pains that come from introducing a new character, like, completely out of whole cloth, and it would have also, I think, heightened the tragedy of giving Obi-Wan a personal victory right before everything goes to shit.
Yeah.
A much more personal and deeply emotional thing. Like, okay, I actually did it this time. I actually killed Qui-Gon's killer.
I think Grievous is interesting in the same way I was talking about before, of, like, it's hard now to exist in the universe where we have Clone Wars and remember a time where we didn't. Because Grievous, now that we've had Clone Wars, he's still a goofy guy, but he's, like, he's got some history. People hear the name General Grievous and they're like, oh, at least, maybe damn. Seeing him for the first time in theaters as a brand new character on screen, he's goofy. He, like, has the weird cough and the silly voice, and, like, where did this guy come from? He scuttles, yeah.
I prefer Grievous with the Russian accent over the British one he had in the 2003 micro series, because I think the Russian makes him sound a lot more intimidating.
What are you talking about? The Russian accent is not inherently scary.
It's not, but, like, with the added vocals of the filters and the mechanical whole thing, it's like I was expecting someone with a reputation to be a bit more.
The Sass lives! Anakin Skywalker, progenitor of Leia!
Yeah, again, the line that fucked up an entire 7 seasons of television. You can't, like...
That one damn line. They went to great lengths.
They had no way of knowing.
To ensure that we could never have a proper Anakin versus Grievous duel at any capacity, and that always annoys me.
But it's immensely funny in retrospect. But no.
Yes, and the things they had to do to get around it in the TV show, which we're not talking about, are hilarious and wonderful.
Yeah, I like Grievous as a step between the, like, separatists, human leadership versus droid leadership. The idea that you've got a cyborg in charge.
Yeah, that's very sick.
Kind of fucks from a symbolic standpoint. And the idea that he is, like, a lightsaber collector, but not an actual Force user, also kind of fucks. And I love his design. There's no reason to give a cyborg a cough, the same reason there's no reason to give a droid anxiety.
Yeah.
But we live in the pitch perfect timeline where both of those things happened.
Hell yeah, I love Grievous's design from a standpoint, as well as his collection of lightsabers. Like, that's me when I find a Transformers figure for a damn good price on eBay. Oh, you'll make a fine addition to my collection.
Yeah.
They whatever you think about the prequels one way or another, the design team was fucking firing on all cylinders.
Hell yeah.
That whole time. Just everything that Doug Chiang and his team did was incredible.
Yeah, I just truly love Grievous's design. I got mixed feelings about Maul because, again, we live in a timeline where Clone Wars exists, but we're not talking about it. Overall, I really love the opening scene. I really love it as an example of, we gotta show that these two have been fighting a war together for the past 3 years and know each other very well, and they have the sync necessary to come up with a plan without even really coming up with a plan. I sense a trap, so what do we do about it? Spring the trap of it all is very good.
Hi, Kitty. Nice to see you.
Silk has joined the chat.
I love Anakin's reaction to Padme being pregnant. It's the perfect blend. It's heartbreak, but it's also like excitement. It's joy, but it's also fear. I love that. It's perfect. Wouldn't change a thing about it.
Hayden is a good actor, y'all. We're just mean.
Indeed.
He just needed better direction.
Amazing what a difference a good director makes. Okay, we're going to jump around a bit, and we're talking about storytelling, and that's enough of a segue for me to do this and make everyone angry at me. We need to talk about the Battle of the Heroes. We need to talk about the 10-minute freaking lightsaber fight, which is, I will put this out there, technically, like in terms of the technical sword fighting being done, one of the best technical sword fights ever put to cinema. But there's a problem with said sword fight. And the problem is there's not a minute of story in that fight. It is swinging stuff around in big cool circles for 10 minutes, and we have spent the entire movie building up this relationship that we were just talking about in the opening between Anakin and Obi-Wan, this brotherhood, they know each other so well, they've fought back to back, and there's nothing. There's not a point where Obi-Wan tries to save Anakin and Anakin tries to kill Obi-Wan. There's not the most basic things you could expect in a fight like that, which unfortunately leaves it feeling kind of hollow in the end, because it's cool, but it's not what the story needed.
I want to push back against that a little bit, because as I was watching it both this time and back when I saw it in the cinemas earlier this year, I noticed, like, compared to the opening fight, I think there are story beats in there, but they're fucking subtle. Like, the fact that Anakin starts going for more physical attacks, like they're going to more, like, brawling and grappling at certain points, because, like, there are moments when it is just down to physical stuff and the lightsaber spinning stops because, like, we're trying to force Obi-Wan down by using our hands, or we are taking a moment and unsteady on that like cable thing right before it falls in. Like, I think there are moments of, like, I can't use my normal methods because this is the person who knows me best, so I have to throw everything I have at them. And I am also doing this on a lava planet that is actively trying to kill me at every single point.
And I can see that point. I think something like that was done better in, say, the fight in Empire, where you have the visual storytelling of, Vader starting the fight with one hand and having to go to two hands because Luke is more powerful than he expected. But there's so much that could have been done with this fight. The fight that many of us had been waiting for our whole lives. And a lot of people love this fight, and I don't want to knock on it, and I'm not going to go into the whole, like, sword bashing versus aiming at your opponent stuff that gets thrown around a lot. But I just feel like time is taken over and over in this fight for, like, Obi-Wan and Anakin stand across from each other and swing their lightsabers real fast without hitting each other, or the two of them swing on these chains over the lava, or fight on floating platforms, that it's like there's no time taken for the two of them dealing with the consequences and feelings of what they're going through until you get to the "you were the chosen one" part.
I think, for me at least, this is a twofold problem. Number one, I was watching Backstroke of the West last night, which, if you don't know, for listeners who don't know, is basically someone took Revenge of the Sith, translated it into Chinese, and then translated it back out into English, and then dubbed it with the English, from the Chinese to English translation. It really focuses the visuals on the movie, but it makes the dialogue even more nonsensical than it already is.
Fabulous.
It's a great experience. Drink and watch it with your friends. But my friend pointed this out last night, that she was like, yeah, I feel like we didn't need to keep cutting back to the Yoda and Sidious fight.
Fully agree.
And I think that the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight suffers because it can't time the beats to the Sidious and Yoda fight, even though both fights are, for playing for keeps, essentially.
Yeah.
I get the sense that one of the beats one of the beats in Anakin and Obi-Wan's fighting that is stressed throughout, the series as a whole, is the idea that, like, Anakin is oops all offense and Obi-Wan is oops all defense. And this fight is pushing those ideals, those concepts to their logical extremes. And until Obi-Wan is on the platform and realizes, oh, I can't play defense anymore. I'm gonna have to do what Yoda told me I had to do, and I'm going to have to kill him, and I don't want to do that. Because, again, Obi-Wan believes up until the very end, that's his brother!
Yep.
Watch me lose my
It's
mind.
really too bad the I have the high ground exchange exists. There's got to have been a better way to do that and get that across. Because I agree with you, that's the part of the fight that has the most story and the most narrative and the most emotional punch. But just even if you're really deep into the movie and enjoying yourself, your brain kind of goes, "What?" when he says it's over. I have the high ground, and it's
motherfucker. You were introduced to us in the first movie, slicing a guy in half when he had the high ground,
and it's not even the high ground. It's like a hill.
Yeah.
I mean, it's enough high ground to give me advantage on a ranged attack in Baldur's Gate 3.
Most of my criticisms regarding the duel on Mustafar mostly have to boil down to dialogue and how it's delivered. I agree. This isn't more or less on the direction part. It's more or less the terms of how the dialogue is spoken. Anakin's going on this spiel about how he's bringing all this stuff to his new empire, and then he quotes George W. Bush by literally saying, if you're not with...
It was Cheney.
Well,
Rip Cheney. Rest in piss. Sorry.
Mustafar is actually a wonderful preview of what Dick Cheney is enjoying right now.
Thank you for clarifying, Sam.
Post-recording apology, you weren't wrong, Raps. The whole long-standing concept of if you're not with us, you're against us was used by Bush to justify a lot of the war on terror, and a lot of audiences in 2005 immediately connected the dots to Bush when they heard Anakin saying that line. What River and I were remembering was the 1% doctrine, aka the Cheney doctrine, which was the declaration that if there was even a 1% chance of someone being a terrorist, it had to be treated as an absolute certainty. And, well, Obi-Wan?
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
He says, if you're not with me, then you're my enemy. And I understand the thought behind that. But then Obi-Wan has to follow it up with, only a Sith deals in absolutes, which is in itself an absolute. A better rebuttal should have been, the Sith cling to absolutes, Anakin.
The Jedi have already been falling for like several fucking decades, and Obi-Wan is not immune from that.
Obi-Wan is the product of that. He's the child of that. I mean, that's why in Jedi, he and Yoda are both the ones who are advocating for, no, there is no other way, you have to kill Vader, because they are
also,
the product
fuck
of
leaving
this
your
upbringing.
sister with Vader, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Actually, no, wait, she is our last hope. Because George realized, oh shit, I can't add any new girls, and it's Leia. Leia's his sister.
We have one girl, that's too many for 1970.
Leia! She's the only girl I know! Correct that, we should.
Thank God for Lego Star Wars.
I've actually gotten into arguments with people in, the last few months where we were basically arguing whether or not Obi-Wan has any culpability in what Anakin does to Padme. And I want to be very clear. Anakin does it to Padme. It is bad. It is the end of their relationship in many, many ways.
So many
Even though
ways.
my girl continues to believe in him, and her son will pick up that torch one day, and I am so proud of that, and I am so glad they did not go for the Padme goes to Mustafar to kill Anakin plotline, because I feel like that would have undermined the parallel. But I feel that Obi-Wan bears some culpability for how things went down because of how he got to Mustafar. Because he took advantage of Padme and their relationship. He snuck on board the ship, and he never at any point was like, hey, Padme, I'm actually in here. He could have done that before parking the ship. And I know that part of the reason he didn't do it is because this is a tragedy, and this is where things have to logically go. Padme has to die because the narrative mandates this. I don't agree with why she died. Lost the will to live. Pick your poison, pick the house breakdown of here are all the medical issues she would be sustaining. Pick the plot of choice, which I prefer. Palpatine is draining her life force to keep Anakin alive. Seeing it in the cinema for the first time, hearing the heartbeat. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm team draining Padme to keep Anakin alive.
Same.
If Kenobi hadn't shown up at the worst fucking time, there is a chance that Padme might have still lived to a point where...
And might have saved him.
Anakin was too far gone at that point, if he was too far gone at that point, but if he hadn't shown up, Padme would have theoretically still lived at least long enough to rectify the plot hole that Leia remembers her.
Oh, I always took that as just the Force,
Yeah, that's the Force.
Oh.
beautiful yet sad is
but
not.
You're right. You're right that it's a retcon that it's the Force.
There are these extensive metas about how Luke's eyes are closed when he is born, but Leia's are open, and therefore Leia did see her mother once. And she has like this primal memory of mommy sad.
Yep.
Padme dying believing that there was still good in Anakin is just the worst thing about all this happening, aside from the genocide of the Jedi Order and the Republic caving into fascism, because Natalie Portman just sells the heartbreak. It hurts. Even if I'm not a fan of Padme as a character. I'm not as diehard a fan as Sam is, but I respect what they're trying to do with her, nonetheless.
Circling back to something I wanted to say earlier when we were pro or against the Jedi, the interesting thing about, and I would say tragic and ultimately stupid thing about the Jedi forbidding attachment, is that every time the galaxy in Star Wars has been saved, it's been saved because of love. Every single time.
Yes.
It is because of Luke's love for his father. It's because of Rey's love for Ben and Ben's love for Rey. It is because of all kinds of other things. There's a billion examples. When Obi-Wan is fighting Vader in the Obi-Wan series, and the love and hope he has for Luke and Leia are what propel him to being able to stand up. Saying no attachment is part of what failed the Jedi, because they didn't understand that a key point of the Force is that Padme is right here. That love is the most important thing, and that there is still good in Anakin, and he can still be saved.
It's all about balance. It's about trying to reconcile one half of your life with the other half, and trying to make it so that you can do one thing and still have the other.
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing that, to briefly poke at all of the side things that we have gotten since then. The idea that the easiest way that everyone trying to kill the Jedi finds them is because Jedi compassion rears its ugly head.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that the Jedi who survive are the ones who have made connections and have been protected by people.
Yep.
And, we don't get Ghost if Kanan doesn't pull that lightsaber and says, "Kid, I'm about to let everybody in on a little secret." We don't get whatever the fuck is going on in Jedi Fallen Order if Cal doesn't, yoink out a lightsaber at some point. The idea that, all of the Jedi who survive and the ways that they are found is because Jedi compassion cannot shut up, or cannot, they cannot get over their Jedi compassion is the thing that, again, it's Anakin's remark of, the Jedi are ultimately selfless. They use their power to serve others. He's right, but unfortunately, they've kind of forgotten about this, because, again, they've been stuck in a no-win scenario. The entirety of the Clone Wars is a Kobayashi Maru situation changed my mind. I want to say one thing about seeing this movie in theaters, is I was seeing it with my friends, and one of the things we joked about is the idea that, from the minute, Mace and the squad of Jedi go off to take Palpatine, and Anakin is sitting alone in the tower wrestling with his crate dragon, and you've got the cross montage of the Force across the city. From that minute on, George is locked the fuck in, directorial-wise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's locked in. John Williams is locked in. And it does not matter. Everything from that moment on, I'm absolute cinema.
Speaking of John Williams' score for this, Padme's Ruminations is my second favorite piece of Star Wars music across the entire saga, because it just has this perfect foreboding sense of dread, which is fitting as we see subtextually the last sunset for the Republic before the rise of the Empire.
Yeah. I love the shot of the temple on fire. It's a terrible, horrible thing that happened, but it made for sick-ass cinema.
What is tragedy but sick-ass cinema persevering?
Truly. What is Star Wars if not PowerPoint transitions persevering?
God, the transition between 3PO and the funeral, just God fucking damn it. George!
Excellent! But, again, I love, one of the things that, Order 66, God, what a sequence. Dave Filoni meme here, Dave, we've already seen Order 66, and you'll see it again! But, it's so incredible. I, had to skip through it because we were on a time crunch to get this recording done. But it's so...
The one thing I have an issue with, and I guess it's not Order 66 proper, but God, Kit Fisto goes out like a little punk.
Yeah,
It's better than how he goes out in the novel, where he is fully decapitated and his head is sitting on his desk when Anakin rocks up.
Jesus Christ.
It's bad.
Matthew!
It's bad!
I'm confident no one gave a shit about Order 66 back in 2005 because we didn't know the Jedi as people, as characters. In a post-Clone Wars / Bad Batch world, it becomes more tragic because we got to know them. We know the struggles that they went through. They've been humanized.
They all were given characters.
Instead of just, oh no, not penis head Jedi.
But what about the droid attack on the Wookiees?
I get that we need to get Yoda out of the plot for a certain amount of time. It didn't have to be, because it's just there to shove Chewbacca in. And I know River has beef with the Mandalorian because of the baby, like, causing the contraction of Star Wars. I'm content that Chewbacca has the same problem, and he should have gone when Han was cut. Because we never have any, like, follow-up on Chewbacca and Yoda being friends in the original trilogy. Chewbacca never goes to Dagobah. He never mentions to Luke, oh, by the way, I knew Yoda. Or however you say that in Wookiee.
The other reason that's there is because fans my age had been complaining for years that the Ewoks were supposed to be Wookiees. And so, in the same way that Revenge of the Sith is named after Revenge of the Jedi, somebody somewhere out there was like, well, they've been complaining about not getting the Wookiee planet for 30 years. Let's just give them the friggin' Wookiee planet.
What are you talking about? They had the Wookiee planet. It was in the holiday special.
Wookiees charging into battle is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like, I even love the little Tarzan yell that one of them does as they swing onto the thing. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, we have to understand that a certain level, like, as much as Star Wars is, like, percentage-wise, there is a certain percentage of Star Wars that is just rule of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, again, about Order 66, briefly poking back at it, and talking about how the clones, you know, get personalities in the Clone Wars, and that's part of the big thing about the Clone Wars, and how, like, Order 66 matters more when you realize it's the wolf pack killing Plo, and you've watched them, like, protect him over life and limb for God knows how long. But you do get hints of that in this one. You know, Oddball is directly named, and I do like the idea, like, even with, if we didn't live in a world where Clone Wars existed, that the idea that the Jedi did give the clones names.
Yeah.
Like, even if it was just the human instinct of, like, we gotta call you something because numbers are too convoluted to say over comms. The idea that either the clones named themselves or the Jedi named them over time, or some combination of both. I like that as a humanizing little nugget before we get into the end of it all. Also, Order 66 note, I love that no Jedi goes down without a fight, except for the younglings who literally can't hold a lightsaber, and the babies, who Kelleran Beck did his best to protect, but this is not about the Mandalorian.
And Ayla Secura.
Ayla Secura goes out without a fight, and I hate that.
Ayla gets jumped, but almost every other Jedi, especially, like, in the temple, like, they made a point of, like, even the younglings have lightsabers in their grips.
Yeah.
The idea that none of them went down truly without a fight, chef's kiss. I love it a lot. And also that Youngling Slayer 3000 keeps slowly but surely getting demoted to a Youngling Slayer 1000 with everyone that Dave decides to keep alive.
You know what? Every Jedi lived, actually.
Anakin missed another one!
Okay, at the peak of Fortnite being hated on before it became a cultural touchstone, there was a meme that I don't know if it's still around anymore, but it's like, Anakin walks in and it's a bunch of these kids, like, doing Fortnite emotes and being like, we like Fortnite, and then he just ignites his lightsaber like he's about to go to town on them. And I I thought that was the funniest thing ever back in 2019.
I hold Anakin like a plushie.
For all the crap that I give George Lucas's writing, I will very much go ahead and concede by saying,
so this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
Is, in my personal opinion, the hardest line ever written in all of fiction. It is just so damn perfect for the death of the Republic and the birth of the Empire, and Natalie Portman delivers it the right way. No notes.
I just wish people hadn't taken it as an instruction manual. God fucking damn it.
That line was so good that when I heard it the first time, my brain just assumed it was a quote from an actual, like, political leader sometime in the 20th century, and that Lucas had just stolen it, because I swear I thought I'd heard it before. I was wrong. It's straight from Star Wars.
Honestly, I think James McTeague heard her saying that, like, either during rehearsals or something, and he called up the Wachowskis and, like, so that girl that you said Tom Tykwer was talking about, the one from the prequels, how about we get her for V for Vendetta?
I truly, truly do love the Senate sequence. Also, so a note I'm putting on a shelf for off mic. What the fuck is Masameta's deal? The fuck is that bug creature's deal?
Simp.
Fair enough. Proceed. I love the Vractal, the weird little thing that Obi-Wan rides. I love Boca. She's so good. Yeah, every time there's like we're doing like the politics, I did yell, can we go back to the war? Please! In the same intonation that you're supposed to listen to the Hamilton.
Can we get back to politics, please?
Yeah.
Every action has its equal opposite reaction.
No. We don't have time for that. I already spent way too much time on YouTube today looking at edits of Epic the Musical for Anakin Skywalker. I don't have time to go back down a Force for Ham rabbit hole too. Listen, Star Wars is inclined to the heightened drama that works great for a musical.
Why is there not a Star Wars musical? There should be
There
a
is.
Star
It's
Wars
called the
musical.
Holiday Special.
Why is there not a Star Wars musical?
Because Star Wars refuses to listen to me to make genre films within the Star Wars universe, rather than telling stories that are interconnected to Star Wars. Please hire me, Lucasfilm. I have very reasonable rates. Anyway, sorry, Raps, go.
So, going back to Mustafar, my question is, had Anakin not been torched by lava, would he still have worn the Darth Vader suit, either for intimidation or for whatever?
Absolutely.
No. I think that was developed for him for specific reasons, and I think Palpatine would have wanted a face of fear. He just got really lucky that he got a helmet of fear instead.
Nice.
I kind of disagree because, number one, I think Hayden is scary enough at certain points. Just being the fallen angel Lucifer, insert Tumblr post with that one art here. But also, like, having a dashing, handsome hero with no fear being like the one Jedi who stood by the Chancellor and helped usher us into this new golden age, like, that plays a lot better than, hey, here's my scary cyborg murder guy.
Here's my scary dog privilege. But, like, also, like, again, if you want to think about it, I like the idea that he would have kept a helmet either way, because I don't know if he would have wanted that identity in public, because, again, by the time the Empire fully gets underway, they wanted to make the Jedi such a myth, and the idea that, like, you know, the Sith are this, you know, the hokey religion of it all from 4, I do think they would have kept him masked in some capacity, but this thought has a potential AU if you wanted to hurt yourself. I don't think the Inquisitors would have been such a big deal, because if it hadn't made it to, because, like, again, there are a lot of people who believe that Anakin died in the Temple Run, right?
Yeah.
You could send a maskless Anakin to go look for other Jedi, and they would have come running to him. Because they trust him.
Ooh, that would be terrifying.
Fuck.
No!
Oh,
and
that sucks.
You would have no need for the Inquisitors. And that's your fanfic AU to go write when you've got time. I want fanfics on my desk by Monday.
We cannot get to that point. I gotta shut this down because now this is all my brain can think of.
While I acknowledge that Darth Vader shouting "No" is pretty cheesy and kind of kills the momentum of the impact of Vader learning that Padme died, I do think that the only other alternative to this solution was to do something similar to what they do in the French dub, where the "No" is instead replaced by Anakin's scream, which would then subtextually represent how Anakin dies, screaming in agony and pain, and doesn't come back to life until he saves Luke from the Emperor years later.
This is how it feels to be Anakin Skywalker forever.
Right before the "No," when he's reacting and crushing things in the lab with his mind, I was so on board. I was like, this is, like you guys were saying, locked in. This is absolute cinema. And then, unfortunately, the "No" does.
Honestly, I think the "No" also works in terms of it just being another indication of how wrong the voice is now in a certain way. Because imagine Hayden Christensen screaming "No" at the top of his lungs, and it's like cracking and he's getting hoarse from it. But instead it's robot James Earl Jones' voice.
I will say, this is my last Clone Wars note, because this is the one thing they do a couple of times, but it's really important. No, they fuse Hayden and Matt a couple of times in episode 7, when they do the "What have I done?" It is both Hayden and Matt doing that line. And I do think that for this, they could have done what they did in both the Ahsoka show, and I think they do it a little bit in the Obi-Wan series, where they could have had it start as a fusion, where it starts as Hayden and then fuses into James Earl Jones.
I would love that, personally.
That would be great.
Because I remember watching Kenobi, and I remember just being, like, gobsmacked when I heard the delivery of the line,
I am not your failure, Obi-Wan.
Like, that just smacked me in the heart.
Yeah.
Revenge is not the
Anakin
Jedi
Skywalker
way. I am
is
no
dead.
Jedi.
I killed him.
Oh god, we will get into my feelings on Kenobi someday, but that is a long, long way off.
My final notes for this is that I love the sheer strength that George had during this epilogue to not have any dialogue from Padme's funeral to the credits rolling. It's the right attitude to have for this heartbreaking ending. It's solemn, it's bittersweet and bleak, but it still carries a bit of hope leading into episode 4.
Would you say a new hope?
Get out! Get the fuck out! I am going to bring us to a close. We are going to grab our baby of choice and stare off into a binary sunset as I ask, is the Force with it?
Yes.
Yes, I would definitely say so.
If I'm providing more details on the yes, after I watched Clone Wars for the first time, I did a rewatch of all 3 prequels in a row. And it's very interesting to do because you watch George go back to being a better and more confident filmmaker over time. And the Revenge of the Sith is the first one in the trilogy that's like really like, dang, this has a lot of potential. I honestly, it led me to constantly saying, like, I wish he'd just made like 4 or 5 indie movies before jumping into making the prequels. And I think we would have had a very interesting trilogy of stories.
As somebody who has essentially grown up with these movies and has been holding 5 like a plushie, and has been defending them as like the kid, you know, like you make the point about how the prequels got their re-examination because kids like me came of age and decided they were good, actually. The idea that I, as a 5-year-old, have been right my whole life about having a crush on Hayden Christensen, I picked correctly. For my first celebrity fictional crush, and I will not hear any evidence to the contrary.
I would definitely say yes, because there are things about it that work. There are minor things that I dislike about it, but I think in the broad strokes, the way it depicts Anakin's fall to the dark side and how it's this ultimate paradigm shifting moment.
I will close out by saying I maintain that this is my least favorite trilogy just because I think that it does a disservice to its leads by not telling what should have been the complete story, especially where it comes to Padme, and it's just a little too battle heavy to suit my needs. But even so, I am still willing to concede forces with it. So, guys, I think it's unanimous. I think we're dealing in absolutes.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Oh, darn. I guess this was an inevitable series of dominoes that no one could have stopped at any given point in time.
Definitely not Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, or Yoda. Nobody could have stepped in and stopped those dominoes.
Oh well.
This entire series of dominoes to ensure that a movie franchise that happened, you know, X number of years ago happened.
Who has pluggables?
You can follow me on Twitter, BlueSky, and Letterboxd at RhapsodyBlueVA, and that's pretty much it for me.
I am on BlueSky at Dreams Rebel. I am on Letterboxd at punk_skeleton. I am on my own website, blog.filmlion.online. I am the host of The Straights Aren't All Right, a podcast where I gather a bunch of queers together, make them watch straight rom-coms, and try to answer the question, are the straights like okay? For those playing the home game, no. Even if I am, no. I'm also going to do the thing that I don't usually do because I'd like to keep my semi-professional life and private and fandom life separate, but I will promote my fic series that I wrote because I have too many thoughts about the Jedi at all times. Do you like Jedi? Do you like thinking about the implications of trying to raise a bunch of puberty teenagers in a monastic order that doesn't have sex ed? You should read my fic series, The Jedi's Guide to Love, Loss, and Desperation, which you can find on AO3.
My name is Mikey Fatum. I'm on BlueSky as Vengeance God on Instagram and Broken Infinity Films, and you should definitely go read my fic on AO3, The Trials of Ben Solo, which is about Ben Solo seeking his redemption in the afterlife with his master, Anakin Skywalker. But what I'm really going to promote right now, I created a show that I run that is my dream called The League of Sword. In its simplest form, it is professional wrestling with sword fights instead of wrestling. It is an ongoing sci-fi fantasy story. We've got all these amazing, crazy characters in it. If you really miss, a lot of the fun and simplicity of the things you loved in childhood, like say the Star Wars prequels, I think you'll really get a kick out of it, and you will be able to find that at leagueofswords.com. Our Kickstarter is for our biggest show ever that we're going to do in February. We've done 5 shows in the LA area so far. This one in February, we're going to have professional video and lighting and audio. We're going to have more fights than we've ever done in one show, and it's going to be turned into an 8-episode series as long as the Kickstarter goes. So please take a look at that, and please throw us some money if you feel so inclined. I would really appreciate it. You're going to love the show.
And in the spirit of Star Wars, to be there for the people who need us, this episode's mutual fund spotlight goes to United Ways of the Pacific Northwest, currently collecting donations to support victims of flooding in Washington state and the greater Pacific Northwest, as rivers continue to rise, threatening the lives and homes of thousands of people. The link can be found in the description, as well as on my various socials at Demisem. Our theme music is provided by Refractory Period, the 2 girls, 1 beat synth-pop sensation. You can follow them on Instagram at Refractory Period the band. To further support this podcast, please subscribe to us on your platform of choice, leave reviews, and share with your friends to boost our visibility, and consider joining Patreon. And now, it's time to turn to the Chance Cube to see where our journey takes us next.
Is that a 1?
It's a
1.
That's a 1.
Oh, no. 1 means our holiday episode is going to be more American Graffiti.
Do you just have to do American Graffiti again?
We will see you all next time. Until then, stay safe, stay strong, stay beautiful, and may the Force be with you.
Always.
And also,
with you.
Oh, I'll need it.